Hey guys, Manga here, and I've partnered up with Rosetta Stone to bring this video to you. Scanlation. This is basically the word sandwiched between scan and translation. According to Google, it is the fan-made scanning, translation, and editing of comics from one language to the other. However, this is where things get a little dicey, because while scanlations are usually amateur work, it is nearly always done without the express permission from the copyright holder. Hundreds of thousands of series have gone through this, and my series, Apple Black, is no different. Now, there are some obvious cons here. They're profiting off of your work without your permission, and not just that, they're hurting your profits while you might be selling parts of it or have it on some kind of subscription service or something where they're just throwing it out there to the world for free. I don't get a cut, and you're cutting into my bag? Not even a courtesy to ask. How dare you? My hard work. I'm not the first to complain. They don't just go after mainstream series. I've seen a lot of artists complain on Twitter, and in some cases, they'll try and reply like, oh, now we can do business. It's like, dude, why didn't you talk from the jump and give us the option to turn you down or work with you? They're not in that game. They're manga pirates. Mugiwara. So the complaints on Twitter and from other publishers has hit the manga scanlation pirate world really hard. Here's an example of one I found on Reddit that really hit one of the biggest players way hard, to the point that they're actually shutting down. Low-key, you're still able to download their stuff on mobile, but at the same time, there are still other copycats which they complain about, which is weird. It's like I have no sympathy if a pirate is getting pirated and your swag is getting stolen. Now you know how it feels. But at the end of the day, it's hard to really root out. You cut off one head and two more grow in its place. Worst case is that some of these aren't even free. Like, they'll take your work and they're actually selling your work. In fact, they had a subscription service at one point. And then it's up to me to tell them to take it down. I mean, come on. I'll leave links in the description to a Reddit where you guys can, learn more details about it. But those are the cons. There are pros that I can think of. And depending on who you speak to, there aren't any pros. This is me trying to be nice and not angry about it. Some people will easily say more exposure to your work, helping build your brand, build your series across, the world. Now, to me, yeah, maybe that's a pro, but that's like small fries. Like, I don't really care about that as much. What I do like sometimes, and it's rare, is when there is a translation of it. I don't offer translations of my series currently. If people who just really want to read it find a translation online, I'll be mad, but I wouldn't be too mad. I'm just being honest. Like, there was a time I found a Russian translation of Apple Black. Part of me was mad, like, how dare you steal my stuff, and that whole tirade. But then another part of me was like, damn, Russia go hard. They translated the logo, like they designed the logo. Part of me is like, damn you. Another part's like, yo, props. And if it's helping any Apple Black Russian fans out there, because I don't have the translations yet, I can find somewhere in my body to be like, you know what, I get it. For the fans. While showing you guys some of the visuals, I'll try to leave out some of the names because I'm about to give them more promo. Also, anytime I found my manga on any of these scanlation sites, one of the first images in there was usually a Saturday AM ad for the volume of the book. So, in another sense, they were promoting my book too. One, the chapter is kind of free anyways. Yes, I lose the traffic because they're not reading it on my site, but they're promoting it. Chapter's free anyways, so again, I'm trying not to be bitter. They only uploaded chapters that I had uploaded on the Saturday AM website, and at some point I had uploaded like 6 chapters, even though now I've kind of taken it down back to 1 chapter and a preview from chapter 1.1 because all the pages have been remastered. So that's one of the downsides, is that these scanlation sites have the old versions of Apple Black. When people actually go to those sites to read Apple Black, they're reading like an old version, old text, old art, not the remastered stuff. So that part kind of irks me a little bit, because if you're gonna steal from me, you better steal the best stuff. They only have the chapters that I've uploaded. 21 Apple Black chapters released, and these sites only have up to 6 because that's as far as I went for free stuff online. So maybe there's a little bit of respect there, or that's just what they could find. If you look closely here, this is the same page, but this is the remastered version, and this is the old version. You can see differences in the window, differences in some of the toning, differences in the sharpness of the text, differences in some of the text itself, remastered masks of these mysterious figures. In fact, the old version has some pages that are, considered missing now because the pages exist in the current version of Apple Black, like this double spread page that's in chapter 1 now. Obviously, they don't have chapter 1.1 and 1.2 translated versions that are out there. I only saw the Russian one. I can't find it anymore because some of these sites now, they're getting hit pretty hard. So the good news is that some of them are going down, and in some cases, some of those pirates are now trying to be legitimate. There is a subtle shift happening. But just overall, obviously I'm not down with scanlations, but if they're translated to languages that I haven't translated it to yet, yes, it's still hitting out of my bag because eventually I plan on doing those translations and you're throwing it out there before I do, without my permission. It's not cool. But, you know, there are a few fans that appreciate it because they have no other option and maybe they do want to support me. So I'm just trying to be nice in my head. Like, obviously the cons outweigh whatever pro there is, if any. Now, for those out there curious on how to read Apple Black properly, there's several ways. Chapter 1 and Chapter 1.1 previews are on the Saturday AM website for free. Chapter 1, 1.1, and 1.2 are compiled in the retro pack that are on the Saturday AM mobile app. The mobile app also has the latest issues of Saturday AM and Fanart Friday, and even the latest Saturday brunch issues for free. So there's always free content on the app, and the app is free to download. But you can get that retro pack with Apple Black 1, 1.1, and 1.2. The second Apple Black retro pack with chapters 2 to 6 will be compiled in one, and that'll be coming out by the end of the month. So download the app so you're prepared for that. And again, these will be the remastered, clean pages. Another way would be to follow Apple Black within the Saturday AM issues. Our magazine issues are now broken down quarterly, so all the issues that appear in each quarter would have the same series running in consecutive issues. For example, if Apple Black is in the third quarter of the year, which it is this year, it's going to be in all the issues of that season, with at least 7 to 14-ish or more pages in each installment, in each issue. Same for the next, if it's in it. And then the granddaddy of them all is just to get Apple Black Volume 1 with the first 9 chapters, including Chapter 1.1 and 1.2, all linked in the description. It's the same link. And then Apple Black Volume 2 with chapters 10 to 18, and then you just wait for Volume 3 to drop, which is what I'm working on. But the translations got me thinking. I want to grow my comic as big as possible, as many people I feel would be interested as much as possible, and that would include translations. I would need to do translations at some point. We at Saturday AM are really looking at that, not just for Apple Black, but for all the other series that are also on our roster. I put out a funny poll. The poll itself wasn't funny, but the results were kind of funny. Asking you guys, what languages would you want to read Apple Black in? What languages do you think you'd be able to recommend Apple Black in? There's some languages I already know the answer to, like French. Comics and animation there really growing, so that's a definite place to go. So I wanted to see other languages outside of just French. I put a poll in my YouTube community page, and Japanese blew it out of the water, with Spanish at a close second. Now, the thing with the Japanese, I'm sure people were just saying that for aesthetical reasons, and some people were saying, oh, you know, increases the chances of an anime, which it really doesn't. Some people, I think, just wanted to see it because it would look cool, even though Apple Black is read from left to right. Spanish surprised me, actually, which I think is more of the real deal, especially living in the US. I mean, Spanish just makes sense. I took some Spanish in college. I did decent at it. It would actually help if I knew how to speak Spanish. And Spanish being second right next to Japanese, knowing fully well that the Japanese leading the poll is kind of iffy because most of the people, I wouldn't say all, but most of the people were just saying it, you know, because it's manga. I did the same poll, removing Japanese, on Twitter, and guess who blew it out of the water? Spanish. It got me thinking about the languages a little more, so I Googled it, trying to figure out what are the most spoken languages in the world. And lo and behold, when it comes to native speakers, Mandarin Chinese is number 1, then Spanish, and then English. Hell, you even see some Portuguese, Russian, and Japanese before you see French, before you see German, Italian, all of that. I didn't know Spanish was that high. Chinese kind of makes sense. It's only when you move away from native speakers and you go to total speakers that English is number 1, then Mandarin Chinese, then Hindi. I don't know how many people want to read Apple Black in Hindi. Let me know in the comments what languages you guys will want to see Apple Black translated to, and we'll kind of continue the conversation there. But then Spanish is 4th, ahead of French. So to me, Spanish is a no-brainer. Even the poll on my Patreon had Spanish on top, and that one even had French in it. Obviously, the goal is to get to all of them, all the major ones at some point, because if we really want to grow this and grow Apple Black, apart from making sure I figure out a system to create more content, which I'm doing, I'm really looking into assistance, and I have some people who've actually offered. It'll be great if I can get to a place where I'm releasing at least a volume a year. At least 2 volumes, 3 volumes would be ideal. I mean, just imagine. There's so much interesting, engaging, exciting stuff that, it's all in my head, so I'm the only one getting excited about it. And we're not gonna get there in time if I don't get the appropriate help. And looking at translations is part of that. I remember when I first started writing and illustrating Apple Black, there were a lot of people in the comments saying a host of things, but one of the things they kept mentioning would be, hey man, go to Japan and try to get your stuff in Shonen Jump. And at first I like that idea, but I do prefer the idea of owning my own content. Being published by a company like that, kind of own my stuff and make some major decisions that I wouldn't want them to make, or I wouldn't be comfortable them making. I'm not against ever collaborating with them in some way in the future, ever, or I'm not against going to Japan in any way. I might do something different, but with Apple Black and what we're doing with Saturday AM, going to Japan to me, as each day went by, was just not necessarily what I wanted to do. Also, you don't really know much about Japan. Just because you watch anime and you read manga doesn't mean you know Japan. You still need to understand the language, the culture, and all of that. And I wasn't really gung-ho on that just yet. There's still things I want to learn, especially the language, and I would like to go there. But going to Japan wasn't tied to my dream of telling my story or being published by Shonen Jump, right? Just telling the story and telling it properly with a decent audience, engaging readers, people getting excited for it, and maybe finding some success that way and doing some adaptations and stuff like that. That's part of the dream, but not necessarily going to Japan. If I had to go to Japan for it to happen, then sure. But Japan itself wasn't part of the dream, especially knowing that the US market is where it's at. That said, even for business reasons and just an expansion of the brand, I do want to learn how to speak other languages. Let's be real. Knowing how to speak other languages, it's just cool, period. Right next to freestyle rapping. You can't go wrong. And I think to start it off, Spanish and Japanese seem really logical. I already have a little bit of Spanish and I watch anime. Japanese, it'll be easy for me to kind of keep track with it. Maybe I'm watching sub-anime. I'm using that to keep myself on my toes. And then Spanish, in the US, there are a lot of places and people you can practice your Spanish with. Which leads me to the people I partnered with to bring this video to you, Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone has been the OG leading learning language company for over 25 years. I remember when they had just the CDs, and I always told myself one day I'll get to it, and I think that time has come, especially now they have really cool apps. If you guys have ever used Rosetta Stone before, please let me know in the comments. I'll be responding to those comments for sure, because I also want to hear what you guys think about it as well. Learning a language ain't easy, but I think Rosetta Stone offers tools to help you reach your goals of speaking new languages with confidence. And not just speaking, understanding as well. Imagine watching sub-anime and not looking at the subtitles. Because sometimes, man, reading subtitles, I can't be the only one that misses a couple things. Like, sometimes I gotta rewind. I like how it sounds, don't get me wrong. Imagine being able to translate it yourself. A lot of job opportunities that come with that. So I'm looking at Spanish and Japanese, maybe French as well. And then there are also some really cool Nigerian languages I'd like to learn as well, for personal reasons. And I think Rosetta Stone will be the best way to do that. Rosetta Stone uses effective methods known as no translation learning, where you're given the spoken language and then you're shown an image to match it to, rather than literal translation. I hear that this style of learning is more effective because direct translations activate parts of your brain that are irrelevant for language learning and even fatigues your working memory. After all, now you'd have two competing understandings of the same thing. According to Raina Scully, your brain is always looking to take the easy route. Whereas with no translation learning, your brain will automatically make the connections. Rosetta Stone's method activates two sensory neural pathways, auditory and visual, and those two together fortify a stronger association, making it harder to forget and would have an easier time making it into your long-term memory. So I think Rosetta Stone is a W, especially if you're a visual learner, but even if you're not, it just makes everything easier to grasp regardless. Use my link in the description to get the monthly discount on Rosetta Stone, or get an unlimited access to the app with all the languages offered, 250 hours of immersive learning per language, and more for life at $199. Learn on your desktop, mobile, tablet, up to you. In closing, for those interested, I've added Apple Black Spanish translations linked in the description. So please share that with those of you who feel would be interested, and worry not, for it will be updated over time. Gracias. All this while we work on other official translated versions of Apple Black and other Saturday AM, PM, brunch, and more titles. If you guys are paying attention, some of the visuals of this video, you see me working on Apple Black Volume 3, putting in some words and text and all that, editing the page. Don't worry if you're up to date with at least Volume 2. I didn't show anything too spoilery, but new Apple Black pages return inside the AM's next issue, which will be free on the app as well. Please leave a comment and let me know what you guys think overall. Like the video if you enjoyed it. United States, to smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you stay notified each time I upload absolutely anything. Turn on all notifications, more videos coming. Again, don't forget to check out Rosetta Stone. Shout outs to them for making this video possible. Check out my other videos, it's Whyt Manga, and hasta luego.